6%? 7%? That's a lot of money. I might as well just do it myself. Well, that might be true, if a lot of that money you're paying a real estate broker is going toward outdated methods, unnecessary fancy offices, and overpaying executives for a lifetime of service. But you don't need to go that route. Silver Compass Realty is a full-service real estate brokerage serving all of South Central Wisconsin, and the commission is negotiable. Silver Compass will explain exactly what they're going to do to help you buy or sell a home, how that will help you reach your goals, and stand right beside you every step of the way. They want to be your broker, your expert, even when you're not in the middle of a transaction. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home. Contact them today at silvercompassrealty.com or call 608-361-8608. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home.
Would you like to experience being one of the free people who produce their own meat and eggs? PurelyPoultry.com has both the chickens and supplies you need to raise your own poultry.
Would you like pets who produce eggs you can barter with? Your own source of clean meat?
A swan on your pond to make your home strikingly beautiful?
How about some pheasants and quail roaming in your woods for enjoyment? If so, check out PurelyPoultry.com.
Burger House 41 is open at 1860 West Mason in Green Bay. You're invited to indulge in one of life's simplest pleasures, a great burger. We're grilling up 15 fresh signature burgers and have over 30 craft beers for the perfect pairing. Experience Wisconsin's best flavors, including white cheddar cheese curds, a variety of specialty sandwiches, milkshakes, and gourmet frozen custard. Burger House 41 at 1860 West Mason is open at 11 a.m. daily. Taste Wisconsin. Taste amazing.
All right, and we're back. You're listening to the Free People Show at freepeopleshow.com and live on Facebook tonight. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Patrick and Miles. Thanks to our engineer Samuel for doing the engineering business tonight. He's very, very good at it, folks, even though he's only 16. He might look young, but interestingly, though, sort of a segue into the topic I kind of wanted to cover tonight. At age 16, is any 16-year-old a person in the eyes of the law? And it varies, of course, depending on what you're talking about. And I'd like to sort of dig into that tonight. A 16-year-old cannot consent to have sex. They can be forced to get married if they're pregnant in certain states. They are allowed to drink with their parents at home or in a bar. Not old enough. Well, at 16, he is old enough to drive without a to have a regular license, but it is provisional. Not old enough to go to war. At 17, if his parents give him permission, he can go fight. At 18, he can be drafted. Not old enough to drink on his own in a bar. Old enough to go kill people. And according to the insurance industry, he's not fully an adult yet because he won't get regular priced insurance until he's 25. I see a million things wrong with this. There are so many. To me, when you look at all the different ways that people are discriminated against and politics comes into play over how old should a person be before they're responsible enough to do this in society, drive, shoot a gun, smoke a cigarette, drink, have a contraception, have an abortion, with or without their parents' consent. It's all so politicized. And to me, the one place where it's not politicized, I don't think, and I think Patrick can probably speak to this being an insurance industry veteran, is in driving. You can't be, well, you get a lower insurance rate when you turn 25. That's the age at which they pretty much have determined that the human brain is mature enough to...
If I'm not mistaken, in the state of Utah, you have to be 19 to buy tobacco, and I believe you have to be 25 to rent a car.
Because of insurance. Yeah, I mean, I think that 25 is insurance. They just decided that for whatever reason, and that could be an insurance regulation.
Well, I guarantee you, it's all done on statistics. I mean, there's probably, and if you think about it, your average. I'm a perfect example of that. I was a complete idiot when I was 21. Luckily, I was in the Navy,
complete idiot when I was 31.
Under custody of the government, so my harm was limited that I could do to society. But
had there been a conflict,
by the time I hit 25, though, I was a different guy. I had matured considerably between 21 and 25, and I think that's pretty typical.
And I would say maybe, like, as far as alcohol goes, and fireworks, we didn't touch on fireworks. That's a whole other one they got to be 18 for. But
I don't know. I bought firecrackers and M80s when I was 9.
Yeah, you know what I did when we were 12 years old.
Wrong store.
You were in the wrong. Well, Miles was in Door County. Where were you?
No, I was in Well,
Fort
I
Atkinson.
lived in Racine before I was 15. Then I moved up to Door County. But
You tell you're from Racine because people from Racine call it Racine and not
somebody
Racine.
said that earlier today. No, what we did in Racine, and this is like back in the late 90s, is we would take our middle school ID and then we'd go to Office Depot or Office Max, and then we would print out fake names and birth dates and some numbers, and then put it over our school ID to make it look like an ID that had an age on it that was older than we actually were, and then we would use it at the places
to buy fireworks,
fireworks or tobacco and
not alcohol.
No, I never tried the because pretending to be 18, 5 years older, 6 years older, that was believable. Trying to be 21, that one would have been a little hard.
Yeah, that's right. You're the younger age group that had to suffer still has to suffer under the 21-year-old.
Yes,
rule.
yes.
It was awesome.
But here's the thing. So maybe there should be.
Agreed.
Okay, if there should be some difference between 21 full alcohol. Maybe at 16 you should be allowed. I mean, maybe
drink beer.
Or maybe, it's like if you're 16, you're 17, and you get busted by the cops and you have a 0.00001, like you've had a beer, maybe it shouldn't be such a harsh crime. But right now it's, zero tolerance. You could have had half of a beer and they breathalyze you. And I had the horrible experience when I was young is I didn't drink a lot when I was young, but I got busted a lot for drinking. Like when I was
That's
camping.
funny. Mine was just the opposite.
Exactly. I never got caught.
I think we're talking about a generational difference
I went
here,
to
maybe.
high school in Fond du Lac where the cops just would bust you to steal your beer.
Yeah. No. Oh gosh, Derry.
This could degenerate into some
All right, kids,
storytelling.
just go on home to your parents now.
No,
Get
here's
your
a good-
cars and drive home.
They'll follow you
We'll
home
take your
sometimes.
car.
They used to follow you
Take your
home.
beer.
Yeah.
Here's a good libertarian
I'll confiscate.
argument.
Back to fireworks, though.
Yeah.
I had fireworks confiscated. A friend of mine and I, who's a responsible doctor now, I want to be careful not to name too many names, his stepfather owned what's still a very large chain of fireworks stands. It's got a family name on it. You still see them all over southern Wisconsin, I think, and northern Illinois. So he had access to all kinds of bottle rockets. So this is probably an argument why an 18-year-old shouldn't be allowed to do anything, even leave the house. So we go out driving around in his Mustang, super hot rod Mustang. But I already told Samuel the story, so he's making faces at me.
So many times.
Yeah, probably. It's a great story, I think.
You're shooting bottle rockets out of the car?
Well, first of all, we were going around, bashing mailboxes with a baseball bat. Thankfully we stopped because actually there was two guys killed trying to do that in Beloit about the same time we were doing it. At any rate, there's this bar on the north side of Beloit. It's called something now, Hog Heaven, I don't know. On Newark Road, it's a biker bar. Had a big gravel sort of drive-through, a lot of big trucks and motorcycles parked there. So we pull in and start lighting off bottle rockets, shooting them into the bar from his car. And people are like getting upset in there. It was like 11 o'clock at night. So we peel out of there. We happen to be right near the Town of Beloit Police Department, which I think is still on Afton Road on the north side of Beloit. We get pulled over right away. So we're plastered, and there's this, I don't know, like a big box, empty, box amount of firecrackers all over the floor. There's firecrackers, bottle rockets, just scattered all over the front seat.
Anybody in a car smoking?
No. It wasn't quite that. So the cop pulls us over. I'm driving. My license, oh my goodness, my mother might be listening to this. Sorry, Mom. My license had expired. I just accidentally let it expire. The only ticket we got, even though we were both plastered and had fireworks all over the place, and the cop knew that we just bottle rocketed the biker bar, was my $50 expired license.
You are so lucky you did not get your ass kicked.
But that's how it was. And I'm not saying not to get too far afield in telling stories, because I think we could probably tell them. I mean, I could talk for a couple hours about stupid stuff I did regarding alcohol and driving and fireworks and such. But that's a case for, is somebody ready to handle those responsibilities when they're 18, and who gets to decide? So it kind of goes back to what rights does a person have to decide how they live, and we have pretty straightforward, basic concept of that as libertarians, that you have the right to your own decisions and labor and the fruit of your property and your personal decisions and your family or whatever, as long as you're not interfering with other people's rights to do the same. Of course, I did violate the NAP.
Totally violated
with my friend.
non-aggression principle
But
with
so-
the bikers.
So there should have been some consequences to that. But why have all these different things that do require some level of maturity, whether it's even things like contraception, marriage,
I'm
abortion. I
glad you
mean,
brought up
you can be
fireworks.
forced to form a if somebody can be made. And this is the case in Virginia right now. You can be 12 years old, be impregnated. So you violate assuming that the person was 18 or older, which I guess that's not necessarily true. There could be statutory rape involved in that. But if the parents make the child, the 12 or 13-year-old, get married, they can force her into a contract, and that negates the statutory rape law. That's crazy.
This is a case going on in Virginia?
It happens not all the time, but in Virginia, I think in 2015, something like 250 people under the age of 15 were forced to get married.
In Virginia.
In Virginia.
Let's take it one at a time. Here's a good starting point with the fireworks. I'm glad you started out with that, because that's a great example to me of if you're going to take a libertarian view on this. There's two libertarian views I think you could take. You could say there should be no age restrictions on anything, anywhere, anytime. So you can have sex between 42-year-olds and 12-year-olds or whatever, which is a view that I certainly don't endorse.
But I think most don't.
Most don't.
There's
but
a few
some libertarians
idiots,
would take that extreme view.
Yeah, but
the other, I think, more reasonable mainstream libertarian view would be to say, okay, age 18, there's no reason to restrict anybody after age 18 for anything. That there's no justification for the 21-year-old drinking age, the 25-year-old car rental age, or whatever it may be. Age 18, that's the point where you have every right of everyone else in society, age 42, 52, 62, whatever it may be. Now, the argument there is that, well, let's look at fireworks. Yeah, I did some dumb things with fireworks after the age of 18. I did dumb things with fireworks before the age of 18, but the difference is that after the age of 18, I was responsible.
Right.
If the police would have gotten involved with some of the things that I was doing with fireworks under the age of 18, my parents would have gotten involved, and rightly so. And I would have got my ass kicked by my dad for it. Rightly so.
Rightly so.
And so that brings a whole nother issue that we can talk about at some further here, is the role of parents, the authority of parents to have responsibility and authority over their children up to the age of 18. That's an issue we can look at. But to me, once you turn 18, you can still be as dumb as you were the day before you turned 18, and you can be dumb for the rest of your life. The point is, from that point forward, you're responsible for your own actions. No one else is any longer responsible for your actions. You're responsible. And to me, that's the right way to look at it, is to say, at age 18, you assume responsibility for all of your actions, and whatever they may be.
No, I agree with you. I think that's soundly libertarian. There's a point at which you're no longer the responsibility of your parents, and you become an adult for legal purposes. The problem, though, is the problem that we face is that just with some of the things that I cited, that it's all over the place in terms of when somebody becomes responsible for their actions and when their parents can be responsible. For example, in most states, if not all, there's certain situations, if not most, where you have to or not you don't have to inform your parents that you're taking birth control, that you've got privacy over your own medical records, and your parents don't get to see them.
That's also
even
true
though
with
they're
mental health also under the age from
but I think any health. We
14 on up.
We just went through this with both.
You have your own privacy.
Over the last few years with both our kids. At a certain point, I think it's 16 in Wisconsin, they no longer have to let their parents see their medical records. Yet, any legal stuff that might come out of that somehow, the parent is still responsible for. So I understand about privacy. Obviously, that's very important to libertarians
it's slightly
too.
separate.
But you know what I'm saying.
The issue of responsibility to me is real easy. It's simple. When are you responsible and when are your parents responsible?
And then I'm just going to interject that the craziest of all is the fact that at 18 you can go and kill people in a third world country, but you can't have drink
as long as you
beer.
have a government sanction to kill people.
Yeah, government supervised, which of course they're the most corrupt of all. We've got about 40 seconds to the break, so we're going to continue this conversation about ages and contracts and majority and responsibility and libertarianism after the break. There's some other stuff we can cover later, but we want to continue with this. So thanks again to Patrick and Miles and Samuel. Everyone who's watching, we'll be back after the break. You're listening to the Free People Show at freepeopleshow.com.
Would you like to experience being one of the free people who